That's what silence feels like. When someone realizes you're no longer chasing, no longer calling, no longer waiting, that's when they finally hear the sound of your absence. There's a quiet kind of strength that most people overlook, a power that doesn't shout, doesn't argue, doesn't demand to be seen. It's the strength of silence. In a world that teaches us to react, to explain ourselves, to beg for clarity, silence stands tall like a mountain, unmoved, unshaken, and rooted. Silence isn't surrender. It isn't defeat. It's often the most powerful response a person can give when they've been wronged, overlooked, or underestimated. You see, when someone hurts you, the flesh wants to fight. The ego wants to speak up to make the other person see what they've lost. But true strength says, I don't need to prove anything. I know my worth. That's what silence does. It draws a line in the sand without ever raising a voice. When you stop explaining yourself, stop chasing someone who's not running toward you, you begin to walk in strength, not desperation. And that silence, it speaks volumes. It says, I love you enough to stay, but I love myself enough to go. There are people who only realize your value in your absence, not because they're evil, but because your presence was so consistent, so giving, that they mistook it for permanence. But when you stop calling, stop showing up, stop filling in all the gaps, they begin to feel the emptiness you left behind. And it's not your angry words that echo in their ears, it's the silence. It haunts, it teaches, it convicts. Silence is not passive. It is active trust in something greater. It's saying, I don't have to fight this battle in my own strength, because God sees what you're not saying. He hears the prayers behind your silence. He defends the one who chooses peace over pride. When you choose silence, you're not giving up. You're giving it to God. You're stepping aside and allowing Him to handle what your words never could. And in that quiet space, healing begins. Your silence becomes your sanctuary. You hear your own thoughts again. You remember who you were before they made you feel small, before they made you question your worth, before they treated your love like it was disposable. You begin to breathe again, not in panic, but in peace. And that peace isn't just a gift, it's a signal to the world that you are no longer tied to anyone who can't honor your presence. So the next time you're tempted to break your silence, just to be heard, just to be understood, remember this: anyone who truly values you will notice your silence long before your words, and anyone who doesn't was never truly listening in the first place. Let your silence speak. Let it carry the weight of your worth. Let it be your strength when words have run dry. There is a certain power that comes with absence, the kind of voice that is louder than anything you could ever say. It's the kind of presence that doesn't need to fill the room to be felt. Absence doesn't shout, doesn't demand attention, yet it echoes across the silence like a deep, resonant drumbeat. It's the quiet reminder that you were once there, and now you're not. And in that space, something profound happens. When you walk away from a person or a situation, the absence you leave behind can speak volume. It's not about making a dramatic exit or cutting ties with rage or bitterness. It's about knowing your worth and understanding that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let someone feel the weight of losing you. They may not realize it immediately, but over time, the emptiness you leave will become a loud reminder of what they had and what they lost. It's often in the absence that people begin to understand the value of what they had. When you're always around, when you're constantly giving of yourself, it's easy for others to take your presence for granted. They might assume you'll always be there, just as the sun rises and sets. But when that presence fades, when you step back and choose not to chase after them, the absence becomes a mirror. It forces them to look at themselves and ask, what happened? Where did they go? And in that moment, they feel the void. The silence speaks louder than any words you could have said. It's a clear, undeniable signal that something is missing, and that something was you. Your absence becomes a force, a quiet yet undeniable statement of what your presence once brought to their lives. Comfort, love, understanding, support. It's the truth you no longer have to say out loud, because absence speaks in a language everyone understands. Obscure. For those who genuinely care, your absence will make them realize the depth of their loss. They'll find themselves searching for what used to be there, but realizing it's no longer available. And in that realization, they feel the sting of regret, the longing for what they once had, and all of it becomes a silent testament to your value. The ones who truly loved you will find themselves haunted by the empty spaces you once filled. They'll come to understand that they never fully appreciated your presence until it was gone. But for those who took you for granted, your absence becomes their lesson. It teaches them that you are not a constant fixture in their life, that your love and your attention are not automatic privileges. It's a wake-up call that maybe they didn't treat you as they should have, and now they have to face the consequences of their actions. And that silence, that space you left behind, will linger longer than any confrontation ever could. Let your absence be a testament to the truth that sometimes the loudest voice is the one you don't speak. It's the silence that reveals your worth. It's the distance that forces others to recognize how much you truly meant. And in the end, that absence will be remembered far longer than any of your words. Self-worth is an inherent truth that needs no justification. It's not up for discussion, negotiation, or debate. It's not something that can be quantified by the opinions of others, nor can it be diminished by the judgments they place on you. In a world where so many seek validation, the truth is this: your worth is already established, and it stands firm, regardless of anyone's perception. It's a part of who you are, and it's not subject to anyone else's whims or standards. From a young age, many of us are taught to seek approval from others. We're conditioned to mold ourselves into what others want us to be, to measure our value against the expectations set by society, our peers, and even our families. But here's the truth we often forget: approval doesn't define us. Our worth is not something that can be earned through actions or achievements alone, nor is it something that can be taken away by someone else's failure to see our value. The world will always try to tell you who you are. It will offer a million voices, opinions, and judgments, each with their own scale of measurement. And if you're not careful, you can easily start believing the narrative they create for you. You may begin to feel small when you're compared to others, or feel invisible when someone overlooks your contributions. But the truth is, your value isn't tied to anyone's view of you. You are worthy simply because you exist. When you know your worth, you stop seeking validation from others. You don't need anyone to tell you that you matter. You already know. The way someone treats you doesn't change the fact that you're deserving of love, respect, and honor. You are not someone else's afterthought or a reflection of their insecurities. You are a person with a unique purpose, and your worth cannot be decided by another's inability to see it. Too often we find ourselves in relationships, jobs, or situations where we are undervalued or mistreated, and we start to question our worth. We begin to think that if we just give a little more, bend a little further, or prove ourselves one more time, maybe we'll be appreciated. But that's a dangerous trap to fall into. Your worth does not need to be proven. It simply is. When you begin to seek validation from others, you are inadvertently handing them the power to dictate how you feel about yourself. And that's not where your self-worth resides. It rests in the knowledge that you are enough as you are, regardless of external circumstances. Learning to honor your own worth means refusing to accept less than you deserve. It means walking away from situations that don't treat you with the respect you've earned. It means saying no when necessary, without guilt, and recognizing that your time, your energy, and your love are valuable. Your worth is not a negotiation. It's a fundamental truth about who you are. And when you embrace that truth, you'll find the strength to stand tall, even in the face of those who try to make you feel small. Your worth is not determined by others. It's a divine truth that rests in your soul, and it's not open for discussion. You were created with purpose, value, and dignity. Never let anyone or anything convince you otherwise. There is a profound kind of healing that happens in the stillness and the quiet seasons of life. It's in those moments when everything seems to slow down, when the noise of the world fades, and you are left with nothing but yourself and your thoughts. In a society that constantly pushes us to do more, be more, and keep moving, it's easy to forget the power of quiet. But sometimes it's in the quietest moments that the most profound healing occurs. When we experience hurt, pain, or loss, the natural reaction is often to seek distraction. We want to fill the silence with activity, noise, and busyness to avoid facing the raw emotions we carry inside. But healing doesn't come from running away from your feelings. It comes from sitting with them, embracing the discomfort, and allowing yourself the space to heal. It's in the quiet seasons that you are given the time and the opportunity to process, to reflect, and to restore what was broken. Healing isn't a process that can be rushed. It's not something that happens overnight. It's a gradual, sometimes painful journey that requires patience and self-compassion. In a world that values instant gratification, this slow, quiet healing is often overlooked. But true healing requires time and space to unfold, and it doesn't always follow a straight path. It often happens in the moments when you least expect it, in the quiet of the morning, in the stillness of the night, or in the moments when you're alone with your thoughts and feelings. It's in those quiet times that God works in you, mending what's been broken, restoring what's been lost, and bringing clarity to confusion. The quiet seasons are often the ones where you find yourself being stripped of distractions, where everything that once seemed so important fades into the background. In this emptiness, you are given the chance to reconnect with yourself, to rediscover who you are outside of the noise and the chaos. You can no longer rely on external things to fill the void, so you are left to confront your heart, your soul, and your thoughts, and in doing so you find healing. The quiet becomes a refuge, a place of restoration where you can let go of old wounds, release resentment, and forgive yourself. Sometimes the healing we need isn't physical, it's emotional, spiritual, or mental. It's in the quiet that we can begin to untangle the knots of fear, anxiety, and past trauma that weigh us down. It's in the solitude that we find the courage to face our deepest wounds and begin the process of forgiving, letting go, and moving forward. Healing doesn't always mean we'll be the same as we were before the pain. Sometimes it means we become stronger, wiser, and more compassionate because of the journey we've been through. The quiet seasons allow us to hear the gentle whispers of encouragement, to feel the presence of peace, and to recognize the subtle ways in which healing takes place. It's in those seasons that we begin to realize that the silence is not a curse, it's a blessing. It's a space for growth, restoration, and renewal. Healing happens in the quiet because it's in those moments that we can finally hear what we need to hear and feel what we need to feel. And through it all, we emerge stronger, more whole, and more at peace than we ever thought possible. There are moments in life when words aren't enough, when explanations fall short, and when no matter how hard you try, you can't make someone understand the weight of their actions. In these moments, it's often best to step back and let the natural consequences of their behavior teach them what words never could. Too often, we find ourselves caught in the role of the teacher, trying to explain, to persuade, to fix what's been broken. But sometimes, the most effective lesson isn't one that comes from us, it's the lesson that life itself delivers when we allow it to unfold on its own. We want to protect the people we care about, to shield them from pain and hardship. We try to intervene when we see them making mistakes, thinking that if we just say the right thing or offer the right advice, we can spare them from the consequences of their choices. But there's a profound truth we often overlook. Consequences are a natural part of life. They are not punishments, they are teachers. And sometimes we need to let people experience those consequences for themselves so they can understand the full weight of their decisions. There's a unique kind of growth that comes from experiencing the fallout of one's actions. When people face the consequences of their behavior, they are forced to confront the reality of their choices. It's in those moments of struggle, of regret, of disappointment that true learning happens. It's when they have to live with the results of what they've done that they begin to understand what they might not have grasped through advice or warnings. It's a humbling experience, one that teaches not only accountability, but also empathy, patience, and self-awareness. When we try to prevent others from experiencing the consequences of their actions, we inadvertently deny them the opportunity to grow. We rob them of the lesson they need to learn in order to become better, wiser, and more thoughtful in the future. By stepping in too soon, we keep them from developing the resilience and wisdom that can only come from facing their mistakes head-on. And in doing so, we also risk enabling unhealthy patterns of behavior, where they learn that there are no real consequences to their actions, that someone will always be there to clean up the mess or take the blame. But when we let the consequences speak for themselves, we allow the other person to see the truth in a way they can't ignore, they experience the impact of their choices on their own terms. They feel the weight of the situation and it becomes personal. It's no longer just a lesson we're trying to teach them. It's a lesson that life itself is offering. And sometimes, that's the most powerful teacher of all. There's an old saying that goes, "What you sow, you shall reap." It's a simple truth that encapsulates the idea that our actions have consequences. When we stop trying to intervene and allow others to face the consequences of their behavior, we give them the opportunity to truly learn from their actions. And in doing so, we give them the space to grow, to reflect, and to ultimately become the person they were meant to be. Sometimes letting go and letting the consequences do the teaching is the most loving and wise choice we can make. Peace is not something that can be forced, manufactured, or rushed. It's a gift that comes naturally when we learn to let go of the things that weigh us down. Whether it's resentment, anger, expectations, or the need to control everything around us. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of profound strength, a conscious decision to release the burdens that rob us of our peace. When we cling to past hurts, unresolved conflicts, or situations beyond our control, we hold on to a chaos that disrupts our inner harmony. But peace comes when we have the courage to loosen our grip on these things and allow ourselves to breathe freely once again. The act of letting go is often misunderstood. It doesn't mean forgetting, condoning, or excusing what has hurt us. It simply means we stop allowing the past to control our present. It means we stop living in the shadows of old wounds, continuously reliving pain that no longer serves us. Letting go allows us to release the power those memories or situations have over our emotions and thoughts. When we hold on to anger, it eats away at our peace. When we hold on to fear, it paralyzes our ability to move forward. But when we choose to let go, we stop letting those emotions dictate how we live. Letting go also involves releasing expectations, those imagined outcomes that we think will bring us happiness. We can become so attached to the idea of how things should be that we lose sight of what is. The desire to control every aspect of our lives and to force others to act according to our plans often leaves us frustrated and anxious. But peace comes when we accept things as they are, not as we wish them to be. It's in that acceptance that we find a quiet contentment, knowing that we cannot control everything, but we can control how we respond. There's an undeniable freedom in letting go. When we release the need to control, we release ourselves from the burden of constantly trying to make everything perfect. Life becomes lighter, and we begin to see that peace was never about perfection, it was about surrender. It's about trusting that no matter what happens, we will be okay. Trusting that God, the universe, or the natural flow of life will guide us, even when things don't go according to our plans. When we let go, we free ourselves from the anxiety of needing to make everything right and allow ourselves to just be. In relationships, letting go is essential. We all have people in our lives who may not treat us the way we deserve, and it's easy to become consumed by the desire to change them, to fix them, or to prove our worth. But peace comes when we realize that we cannot control others. We can only control how we show up and how we respond. Sometimes, the most peaceful choice we can make is to let go of people who no longer serve our well-being, whether that's through emotional distance or the decision to walk away. When we let go of these unhealthy dynamics, we open ourselves to healthier relationships and ultimately a peace that comes from within. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about recognizing what no longer serves us and making room for what does. It's about choosing peace over conflict, calm over chaos, and freedom over control. When we make the conscious decision to let go, we make room for peace to enter our hearts. Peace is the fruit of letting go, and it's a fruit that grows when we choose to release what holds us back and embrace the serenity that lies in surrender. In the end, the journey to peace, self-worth, and healing isn't one that can be rushed or forced. It's a process, a slow unfolding that requires patience, strength, and the willingness to let go. Silence can be our strongest voice, reminding others of what they lost and teaching them lessons they might never have heard in the noise. Our self-worth isn't up for debate, and we must stand firm in knowing who we are, regardless of anyone else's opinions. Healing, too, happens in the quiet moments, in the spaces where we pause to reflect and restore what has been broken. And sometimes, the best way to guide others is by letting consequences teach the lessons we cannot. The true peace we seek is not found in controlling everything around us or in the noise of constant effort, but in the quiet, the surrender, and the release. Letting go is the key to unlocking that peace, a peace that comes when we stop carrying burdens that were never meant for us to bear, and when we trust that everything will unfold as it's meant to. By choosing silence, letting go of the past, and embracing our self-worth, we create the space for peace to take root and flourish in our lives. Peace is the fruit of letting go, and it's the peace that